So I, female, 31, feel like everyone's turning against me over something I thought was really nice, and now I don't know what to think. My brother's ex left their 4-year-old with us for what was supposed to be just a weekend 3 years ago and never came back, so we've been raising him ever since. Am I the idiot for keeping literally every single piece of art my nephew makes because I want to show his mom when she comes back? I know how this sounds, but please bear with me. My brother Mike, male 29, got emergency temporary custody when his ex Sarah had some kind of breakdown when my nephew Tyler was 4. She just disappeared, like completely off the grid. Mike keeps saying she'll come back when she's ready. He says this whenever anyone brings her up, which isn't often because it makes him uncomfortable. The thing is, I've been saving everything Tyler makes. Every drawing, every craft from school, every random scribble on napkins. I have it all organized by date and color in these clear storage bins because I guess I figured when his mom comes back, she'll want to see how he grew and what he was thinking about during all this time she missed. Like, she missed 3 whole years of his development. That's huge. I should probably mention that I had a miscarriage when I was 28 and never really got over it. I mean, who does, right? So maybe I'm projecting or whatever, but if I was a mom who missed 3 years of my kid's life, I'd want to see everything, every single progression, how his stick figures turned into actual people, how his handwriting got better, how his ideas got more complex. But lately, everyone's acting like I'm some kind of hoarder or something. Last week, I was volunteering in Tyler's art class. I do this every Thursday because, honestly, the teacher needs help, and I like seeing what he's working on. Tyler was doing this really detailed drawing of what looked like a neighborhood, but when I looked closer, it was this made-up place with all these houses connected by bridges and tunnels. He draws these maps a lot, actually. Always places where families can't get separated, where there's always a way to get back to each other. Anyway, the other kids were talking about what their parents put on the fridge at home, and Tyler got really quiet. After class, he asked me why I keep all his art in bins instead of just picking the good ones to hang up like his friend Jackson's mom does. And I explained about saving everything for when his mommy comes back, how she'll want to see how he got better at drawing, and Tyler just shut down, like completely. Wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the day, just stared out the car window on the way home. Then this weekend, Mike was helping move some of Tyler's old clothes out of his bedroom. Kid's growing like crazy. I swear he needs new everything every 6 months. And he found my storage setup in the spare bedroom closet. I have probably like 15 bins now, all labeled and organized chronologically. Mike looked at me like I'd lost my mind and told me it was getting weird, and that maybe I should just keep the best pieces so there's actually room for Tyler's current stuff. But I can't just throw things away. What if she wants to see how he progressed? What if there's something really important in there that shows what he was feeling during a specific time? The thing that really got to me was yesterday at lunch duty. My teaching buddy Sarah mentioned that she's noticed I always talk about Tyler's mom like she's still around. Like I'll say things like, when his mom sees this, or his mom will love that. And Sarah suggested maybe constantly telling Tyler his mom is coming back might be giving him false hope, which made me so defensive, probably too defensive. But also, what if she's right? What if I'm messing with his head? I mean, I organize everything by color and date. It makes me feel like I have control over things, like I'm prepared for whatever might happen. So keeping Tyler's art organized feels the same way, like I'm being responsible and caring. But now I'm wondering if everyone else can see something I can't. Like, the spare bedroom closet is pretty much entirely taken over by these bins. And Tyler does ask sometimes why other kids' fridges have their drawings and ours doesn't. We have a couple things up, but I take them down after a few weeks to file them properly. I honestly thought I was being thoughtful. Like, what kind of person throws away a kid's artwork, especially when his mom might come back and want to see what she missed? But apparently, keeping literally everything for 3 years makes me weird. I'm not normally this conflicted about stuff, but after Sarah's comment and Mike finding all the bins, and Tyler's reaction in art class, I keep going back and forth. Part of me thinks they're all wrong and I'm doing something really loving, but part of me wonders if I'm actually doing something that's hurting Tyler. I guess what I'm really asking is, am I the idiot for keeping every single piece of art my nephew makes, just in case his mom comes back and wants to see it all? Now for the first update. You were all right about there being more to this story, and I feel so stupid for not seeing it sooner. I don't even know how to start this. After everything that happened last week, Tyler shutting down an art class, Mike's reaction to finding my storage bins, and Sarah's comment about giving Tyler false hope, I've been worried about the whole situation. So when this came up during our family dinner yesterday, I think I was already ready to push harder for answers than I normally would. I've been sitting here for like 2 hours trying to figure out how to type this out, because honestly, I still can't believe what I found out yesterday. So remember how everyone was saying my brother was acting sketchy about the whole situation, and how some of you pointed out that it was weird he wouldn't try to make custody official or look for Tyler's mom through proper channels. Well, you were completely right, and I feel like such an idiot for defending him. This all came out yesterday during our usual Sunday family dinner. My mom makes this big thing every week where we all get together. Me, Mike, Tyler, sometimes my dad if he's not working. Usually it's pretty normal. Tyler shows us whatever he's working on in school, we talk about the week, whatever. But yesterday the conversation turned to back to school stuff because Tyler needs like $400 worth of school supplies for second grade. Anyway, I was going through this massive list. Special graphing paper, specific art supplies, a tablet case, all this stuff. And I mentioned that we'd need to figure out how to split costs since it's getting pretty expensive. I should mention that I've been helping with Tyler's expenses since he came to us 3 years ago. But over the past year or so, I've been covering more and more of the major costs as Mike kept saying money was getting tighter. Like I pay about $200 monthly for groceries when he's with us. I bought his school clothes last fall, plus all the random field trip fees and stuff. Mike always says construction work is unpredictable and money's tight, so I figured I was just helping out. But when I said we should budget for the school stuff, Mike got this weird look on his face, like panicked almost. And Tyler was coloring at the table. He does this thing where he draws during dinner conversations, so he wasn't really paying attention to us talking. Mike started getting angry about money, which honestly isn't that unusual for him. He's always been sensitive about financial stuff ever since we were kids, and money was tight. But then he just broke down, like completely started crying at the dinner table, and Mike doesn't cry. I've seen him cry maybe 3 times in my entire life. He said he couldn't keep lying to me anymore, and that he had something to tell me. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he lost his job or something. Maybe he's been too proud to ask for more help. But what he told me was so much worse than anything I was expecting. He's been getting government benefits this whole time. Not just a little bit. $743 every month in some kind of kinship care assistance, plus another $200 monthly for emergency custody situations for 3 years. That's nearly $1,000 a month that I had no idea about. I just sat there doing math in my head while he's crying and telling me about all this money. Like that's almost $35,000 over 3 years, and I've been paying for groceries and clothes and school stuff because I thought he was struggling financially. But wait, it gets worse. Of course it does, right? When I asked him where all that money went, because obviously Tyler has been fed and clothed and housed, but I've been paying for most of it, he started making up this story about bad investments. Even pulled out these printed papers that looked like investment statements, which should have been my first red flag, because Mike has never invested in anything in his life. I kept pushing because the numbers weren't making sense. How do you lose $35,000 in investments when you're supposedly too broke to buy your kids' school supplies? And finally, he admitted the truth. He's been gambling most of it away at the tribal casino about an hour from here. I cannot even, I'm still processing this. He said he thought he could build Tyler a college fund by playing poker and blackjack, that he was going to win big and then have this amazing surprise for when Tyler graduates high school. But obviously, that's not how gambling works, and he's lost probably $30,000 over 3 years trying to win college money. The rest went to paying minimum payments on credit cards that he maxed out covering his gambling losses. So he's been gambling government assistance money meant for Tyler, losing it, putting expenses on credit cards, then using more government money to pay credit card minimums. It's just a horrible cycle. And this explains so much about the way he acts that I didn't understand before. Why he gets weird when anyone mentions making custody official. Why he won't hire a lawyer to look for Sarah through proper channels. Why he always changes the subject when people ask about long-term plans. Because making anything official means government reviews. And government reviews would find out that he's been gambling away assistance money meant for taking care of a 7-year-old. But here's the part that made me feel sick to my stomach. When I was asking all these questions about money and government reviews, he asked me how I've been filing my taxes, and I realized I've been claiming Tyler as a dependent for the past 3 years. That's like a $2,000 child tax credit annually, so I've been making money off this situation too. Not on purpose, but still. I've been getting tax benefits for taking care of Tyler while Mike's been getting government assistance for the same thing. And neither of us has been trying very hard to find his actual mom or make any of this official. We've both been financially benefiting from keeping Tyler in this weird limbo situation where his mom doesn't know where he is and nothing is legally official. I keep going back and forth between being furious at Mike and being disgusted with myself. Like, yes, Mike has been actively gambling away money meant for Tyler's care. That's objectively terrible, but I've also been claiming tax benefits without thinking about what that means for finding Tyler's mom or making sure he's in a stable legal situation. Tyler was still drawing during most of this conversation, but I could tell he was listening because his drawings got more chaotic. Instead of his usual pictures, he was just scribbling really hard with black crayon. And at one point, he looked up and asked if he was going to have to move again, which really upset me because he shouldn't have to worry about that stuff. I told him no, that adults were just talking about boring money stuff. But honestly, I don't know what's going to happen now. Mike is clearly in way over his head with gambling debt and government assistance fraud. I don't know what to do with any of this information. Mike's begging me not to report anything because he says they'll take Tyler away and put him in foster care. But continuing to cover up assistance fraud feels wrong too. And Tyler deserves to know if his mom is trying to find him or if there are ways to reconnect with her that we've been avoiding. This whole thing is so much more complicated than I thought when I was just organizing art projects in storage bins. Information to add. Since people are asking about the timeline, Mike got emergency temporary custody in 2021 when Tyler was 4, and he's supposed to file for permanent custody before it expires early next year. The emergency custody was only granted for 4 years total, so we're coming up on the deadline. But now I understand why he keeps putting it off. Any official custody hearing would involve financial reviews and background checks that would definitely find the gambling and assistance misuse. To answer everyone who's wondering about Tyler's mom, Sarah, I honestly don't know if she's been trying to make contact. Mike handles all the official stuff, and now I'm realizing he might have been hiding communications from social services or legal aid organizations. I'm scared to think about what else he hasn't told me, especially if there have been attempts to reach out that he's been ignoring. And yes, I know I need to stop claiming Tyler as a tax dependent if Mike is getting government assistance for him. I called my tax guy this morning, and apparently I need to file amended returns for the past 3 years. So not only am I dealing with this emotional mess, but I'm probably going to owe the IRS money too, because of course I am. Now for the second update. Things got so much worse, and I honestly don't even know where to start with what happened today. I was eating lunch in the teacher's lounge, just a sad sandwich because I forgot to grocery shop this weekend, when my phone rang. It was Tyler's school, which immediately made my stomach drop because schools only call during the day if something's wrong. The principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, said they had a security concern they needed to discuss with me. Apparently, I'm listed as Tyler's emergency contact since Mike works construction sites where he can't always answer his phone, which now makes sense why he insisted on that setup. Probably didn't want them calling him directly about anything. She told me that for the past 2 weeks, a woman has been standing on the public sidewalk outside the school during Tyler's recess time, just watching. The woman matches the physical description they have on file for Tyler's mom from his enrollment papers 3 years ago. Brown hair, about 5'4", thin build. Mrs. Rodriguez said the woman seems to know Tyler's exact schedule. She shows up right when second grade goes outside and leaves when they come back in. I'm listening to this, trying not to panic, because my first thought was like, okay, this is terrifying. Someone's stalking my nephew. But then Mrs. Rodriguez said something that made me stop completely. She said the woman seems to recognize Tyler specifically, and that yesterday, when Tyler was playing near the fence, the woman had started crying. I asked if they'd approached her or called police, and Mrs. Rodriguez said they were hesitant because she's not technically on school property and she hasn't tried to make contact. But they wanted to check with the family first to see if this was a custody situation or if they should treat it as a safety concern. My hands were literally shaking when I hung up. I immediately called Mike, expecting him to be shocked, maybe panicked about Tyler's safety. Like, if some random woman is watching your kid at school for 2 weeks, that's terrifying, right? But Mike's reaction was weird. Instead of being surprised or worried, his first question was about what exactly the school had told them, not if Tyler was okay or if we should call the police. Just this very specific question about what information the school had shared. I started explaining about the woman matching Sarah's description, and Mike got quiet, like completely silent for probably 30 seconds, which felt like forever when I'm freaking out about someone potentially stalking Tyler. Then he said something like he'd handle it and started trying to end the call. But I was not having that because what do you mean, handle it? If Tyler's mom is hanging around his school, we need to figure out if she's okay, if she wants to see him, if there's something going on we don't know about. That's when Mike's voice changed. He got defensive in that way he does when he's been caught in something, and he started talking about how I shouldn't get involved and how this was his responsibility as Tyler's guardian. And something clicked. The way he wasn't surprised, the way he immediately wanted to control information, the specific questions about what the school knew. So I asked him directly if he knew something about this. More silence. Then he started crying again, seriously, twice in a week after barely crying in 30 years, and said we needed to talk in person. I left work early and drove straight to his apartment. Tyler was still at school, so we could talk without him hearing, and what Mike told me, I literally cannot believe I've been this naive. Sarah has been trying to contact him for 8 months through a legal aid lawyer. 8 months. She's been clean and sober for over a year, completed some kind of court-ordered treatment program, and has been working with legal services to request supervised visits with Tyler. Mike has been getting official letters from her lawyer since last spring, requesting meetings to discuss visitation arrangements. He hasn't responded to a single one. I asked him why the hell he wouldn't tell me that Tyler's mom was trying to reconnect, and he started making all these excuses about protecting Tyler and how Sarah couldn't just show up after 3 years and expect things to go back to normal. But then I pushed harder about the legal letters, and he finally admitted the real reason. He's been telling Sarah's lawyer that I have formal legal guardianship of Tyler, which is completely false, since Mike has the emergency temporary custody arrangement that expires early next year. But apparently, he's been telling Sarah's lawyer that I'm Tyler's legal guardian to make the process seem more complicated than it actually is, and that any custody changes would require expensive court proceedings. He knew Sarah couldn't afford legal fees and that she was already scared of the court system because of her previous mental health case. Basically, he's been deliberately misleading her legal aid attorney to make the process seem impossible and expensive, knowing she'd probably give up. And why? Because he desperately needs that $943 monthly assistance payment to cover his gambling debts and credit card minimums. He's literally been keeping a mother and child separated because he can't afford to lose the money. I asked him how he could do that to Sarah, how he could keep her from Tyler when she's been working so hard to get her life together. And he just kept crying and saying he couldn't lose Tyler, that Tyler was like his own son now, that 3 years was too long for a kid to be away from his mom anyway, which made me feel sick because does he really think Tyler doesn't remember Sarah? Tyler was 4 when she left, not a baby. He definitely has memories of her. Then Mike said something that made everything so much worse. He asked if I remembered why I started saving all of Tyler's artwork, and I was like, yeah, for when Sarah comes back. But he looked at me like I was missing something obvious. He told me I started saving everything from day one, even before I really believed she was coming back. He kept saying she'd return because he didn't know what else to tell me, but I was already acting like I was preparing evidence or something. And he's right. I did start immediately, before Mike ever said anything about Sarah returning. Even when we thought this was temporary, I was already organizing everything in bins. Mike said maybe deep down, I knew something was wrong with the whole situation. Maybe I was preparing evidence that we'd been good caregivers in case anyone ever questioned what we were doing. I don't know if he's right about that, but it made me feel horrible. Like maybe I haven't been saving Tyler's art out of love and hope. Maybe I've been doing it out of guilt because some part of me knew we were keeping a mom and kid apart, and I wanted proof that we were taking good care of him. This is so messed up. All of it. And now I don't know what to do. Sarah's lawyer has been trying to arrange supervised visits for months, and Mike's been ignoring them. Tyler's mom has been watching him at school because it's probably the only way she can see her son, and I've been complicit in this whole thing without even knowing it. I asked Mike for the lawyer's contact information, and he started panicking, begging me not to get involved, saying it would mess everything up for Tyler. But how is keeping his mom away from him not messing things up? I'm supposed to go pick up Tyler from school in like an hour, and I have no idea what to say to him. Do I tell him his mom has been watching him at recess? Do I pretend nothing happened? Do I ask if he's noticed anyone familiar during outside time? I keep thinking about all those drawings he makes of houses connected by bridges and tunnels, places where families can't get separated. Has he been drawing his mom this whole time, and I just didn't realize it? I feel like the worst person in the world right now. Not as bad as Mike, obviously, but still pretty terrible. Edit 1. To everyone asking if I'm going to contact the lawyer directly, yes, I found her business card in Mike's kitchen drawer, and I'm calling her tomorrow morning. 2. For those wondering about Tyler's reaction to potentially seeing his mom, I'm not going to tell him anything until I know what's really going on, but I'm definitely watching for signs that he might have recognized her.